Well, I want to turn now to Georgia, where the trial is currently underway for the killers of Ahmaud Arbery. Take a look at a recap from coverage.
Formally moved for a mistrial under the 5th, 6th, and 14th Amendments of the U.S. Constitution, parallel provisions of the Constitution of the state of Georgia. We contend that the atmosphere of the trial, inside and outside the courtroom, at this point, has deprived Mr. Bryan of his right to a fair trial. I understand that co-counsel vehemently disagree on some aspects of that motion, and if they don't want to join, that's their business. But I represent Mr. Bryan, and my concern, Your Honor, notwithstanding what in my observation would be extraordinary efforts on the part of the court to avoid anything that would interfere with the right of these defendants to a fair trial. At the same time, in extraordinary cases like this, additional steps have to be taken. We have not secured the front of this courthouse. The Transformative Justice Coalition still flies their banner virtually every day outside in what should be protected grounds. Your Honor, we have had numerous instances several instances during jury selection of nonverbal communications between the victim's family and jurors, or from juror to the victim's family. We've had several emotional outbursts during the trial of this case, notwithstanding the substantial efforts of the court to ensure that they don't take place. And we have had civil rights icons sitting in here in what the civil rights community contends is a quote-unquote test case for civil rights in the United States.
These are all very, very separate issues, neither which independently or even together at the same time require manifest necessity for a mistrial. We ask that you deny that mistrial.
Georgia, I love the succinctness with which she just unraveled his pitiful argument.
Yeah, I mean, she said neither independently nor collectively do any of those arguments merit a mistrial. But that is what we'll see from defense attorneys. We saw it in the Derek Chauvin trial. The defense, at any opportunity, would ask for a mistrial, ask for everything to just be thrown out. And, in this case, it's shocking that it is 2021 and we're hearing defense using the presence of pastors, civil rights icons, the presence of them being a reason for a mistrial. I don't quite, while I, as a journalist, try to understand both sides so that at least I can report on them, I can't quite wrap my mind around the logic there. What is it about the presence of a pastor, a Black pastor specifically, that merits a mistrial?
Well, it's split up into two different cases. But if you look at both the Rittenhouse case and this Arbery case, essentially what they're saying is the very presence of a Black peacemaker should be viewed as a threat, while the presence of a white man with a gun should not be viewed as a threat, and the authority should be given to that white kid or white man with a gun, because if he gets off in the Rittenhouse case, that's what this system is saying to us, all while making the argument that someone like Jesse Jackson is the real threat and should, constitute a mistrial. The absurdity of it all.
I thought that having a pastor around was a good thing. And, there has been some organizing that's been happening. I received a press release yesterday from the National Action Network, which is the network of Al Sharpton. And they are organizing for, I believe, more than 100 Black pastors to take a stand outside of the courthouse. And so, if they're asking for a mistrial just based on the presence of one, I wonder what's going to happen when they walk outside and there's 100.
Well, I'm going to be there and bring you the reaction live, because, I knew when I heard it that the response was going to be probably thousands of black pastors. I want to see it. So there's a good chance we'll be there on this Thursday.
Man, a little prayer ain't never hurt nobody.
Unless you're a devil.
Well, rebuke Satan there.
Oh Lord, you
Ben,
about to walk
I
me into
do.
some trouble here, Georgia.
I know, right? And good thing Anthony's not here.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh my goodness. Yes.
he
Yes.
might be flying down there to participate, but what the outcomes of these trials will ultimately determine is the way in which Black lives are valued in a post George Floyd society. And
That's
I
right.
also believe that whether or not Rittenhouse is held accountable will send a message, as you were saying
Oh yeah.
earlier, to other individuals on how bold and violent they can be in
That's
their
right.
approaches
That's
when
right.
they're responding to protests for Black lives.
That's right. And here's one last thing that I would say about it is people who want to make the distinction and say, oh well, Rittenhouse's victims were not black, therefore it can't possibly be white supremacy. You have to understand what drove that little devil to cross state lines was in reaction to black life being protested for, like people standing up for black lives. That's why he showed up. And I think that it might just be a disappointing detail in the grand total of their white supremacy that they killed two white people and not black people. But that didn't stop him. Here we are. And the real question is, like you said, Georgia, at the end of the day, what is the value of black life and the life of those who stand up on behalf of black lives?
Yeah, and that ideology is very deep rooted in the evolution of white supremacy and the
Mm,
attack on Black life. I mean, when you go back to white folks who were assisting in slaves escaping from slavery, when you go
that's right.
back in the 50s and 60s, and you look at folks who were in interracial relationships, what were those white people called?
Hmm.
They had a very special name for those kind of white people. They called them
Those race
N-lovers.
traders. Mm,
Oh,
hmm.
well,
Well, the
and
other
so
one too.
it
Yeah.
evolves, right?
Mm,
And so there has always not only been an attack on Black life, but there has also been an attack on people who support and love and will help Black people. We've
mm,
seen that, and that it has evolved in the way in which it looks and how it shows up. But in the 21st century, it's Kyle Rittenhouse showing up to Kenosha, Wisconsin, with a gun and killing two people, two allies, two individuals who are saying that police should not be out here shooting Black men in the way in which
that's
we
right.
saw that happen to Jacob Blake.